Welcome to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeart Radio. I am Esports and Gaming Insider Jason Fanelli, and ladies and gentlemen, we are at episode number 50. Can you believe it? 50 weeks ago, 51, I think I missed 1 week. We started this little podcast coming up on 1 year of podcasting and being on the radio, talking about esports and video games, and it has been quite a ride. We have gone through the summer hot streak, the fall releases, the winter doldrums, and now here we are again getting ready for another crazy summer of game announcements. This week is already kicked up, and it's only Wednesday. Yes, I am recording on Wednesday. Thursday night I will be heading down to the shore for Memorial Day weekend, working from the shore on Friday, which is pretty cool when you're listening to this. So right now I am sitting at the shore on Friday, and if you're listening to this on the radio on Saturday, I've been at the shore since Thursday night. Pretty cool. But anyway, big time interview on this week's show. Big time interview, one of the biggest in this show's history, with an absolute legend in gaming journalism and broadcasting. I am very excited for you to hear that. And then we'll get into the Overwatch League from last week, even though I don't really want to. And then we'll talk about all of the crazy nonsense that's been announced. But let's not waste any more time and get right in to the 6 in 60 seconds. Your Philadelphia Fusion lose both of their matches during Week 1 of the June Joust Overwatch League qualifiers, losing to the New York Excelsior and the Chengdu Hunters 3-1. They have a week off this week before coming back Friday, June the 4th at 5 a.m. Sheesh. The Brazilian team Ninjas in Pajamas not only have a great esports name, but win the 2021 Rainbow Six Siege 6 Invitational, becoming the first Latin American team to win the tournament in Siege's history. The Virtual Fighter X Esports project has been revealed as Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, coming June 1st to the PlayStation 4 free via PlayStation Plus. Xbox and Bethesda have announced a co-headline games showcase for June 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes have been dated for November 19th of this year, while Pokemon Legends Arceus is confirmed for a January 28th, 2022 release. And finally, Thursday is live stream day, so Sonic's 30th anniversary, Dying Light 2, Horizon Forbidden West all receive new details on Thursday. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. And as always, the 6 in 60 seconds are brought to you tonight by the sponsor of Cheesesteaks and Controllers, the Ghost Shaver. The Ghost Shaver is designed to feel like it's an extension of your arm, allowing users to reach anywhere on the head, face, or body. Its precision cutting system gives you a close and smooth shave every single time, and 5 rotary flex action super thin blades and a patented handheld design fit in the palm of your hand and give you a firm and controlled grip along with that smooth shave. Go to ghostshaver.com to check it out and perhaps get yours. Ghost Shaver, a shave above the rest. Yes, folks, that was the 6 in 60 seconds for the week. Unfortunately, it had to be weighed down by the news of our Fusion going 0-2 in the first week of June Joust qualifiers. Hopefully they can right that ship in time for the tournament in a couple of weeks. They're off this week, and then they'll have 2 more matches next weekend. But to make up for that awful news, this is episode 50, and we have to do something big, something bigger than we've ever done before. I wanted to get a guest on this show who has been doing this podcast thing in this gaming industry for way longer than me, someone who's been around the block many, many times, and someone who, by his own admission, is kind of funny. So, I have with me right now the incomparable Greg Miller joining me today on Cheesesteaks and Controllers, and it just feels weird to really say that. Greg, how the hell are you, sir?
I'm fine. Do you have to point out how old I am? I've been doing this for that long. No.
Hey,
I get enough from Blessing and Barrett on the shows about how young they are.
Yeah, look, I've been doing this since 2010 myself, so I'm right there with you.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about Kind of Funny a little bit. Just started this a couple years ago. You broke off from IGN, where you had a very successful gig. Kind of went off on your own. I'm sure there was a little bit of angst or, a little bit of worry about doing something like that. But you guys have really, really come into your own in these years. Where do you see Kind of Funny right now? Was it where you envisioned it back then? And where do you see it continuing to grow?
No, I mean, we're super lucky. Yeah, we broke away in 2015 from IGN.com, where, it is the biggest video game site in the world, and I was the face of the site. And so right now to be, 6 years into Kind of Funny, it's well above and beyond what I ever thought it would be. Because, the one thing I learned with Kind of Funny and starting our own YouTube podcast business was that it all happened a lot quicker than we thought it was going to. Because for us, it was this concern of, you work at IGN, so of course you're going to get all the demos, you're going to get all the review copies, you're going to get all the access and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so there was a big concern leaving of, well, do people work with me because I'm Greg from IGN, or do they work with me because I'm Greg? And so when we left and found that people worked with us, it was huge.
Yeah, that's really fair. I had not considered that sort of access being taken away from you, but I guess you had made enough of a relationship throughout your time at IGN that people were like, no, it's the same Greg, just has a different name under the in the outlet part.
Exactly. Yeah, and we were lucky that people got it. We left, and we always joked around about it, publicly, that, we were leaving the reach of IGN for the intimacy of Kind of Funny. That we have this audience that we call the Kind of Funny best friends, and they are a force to be reckoned with because they listen to us. And if we are excited about something, they're excited about something. And if we ask them to go support a charity, they'll go support a charity. And that's all easy to explain to people who, are on the internet, are part of the community. Sure. But I was worried when we left if, a PlayStation or an Xbox or Nintendo would understand that. And I was shocked to find out how much they totally got it and understood that the future of the industry, again, 2015 to now 2021, where you'd see it, I think, and understand that, is these micro communities, are these communities that people are respected in and listened to in, and that, when there is a, Suicide Squad trailer, when there is a WB video game, when there is a PlayStation exclusive, people wake up, see that news, and they say, oh, I want to know what Greg has to say about that. And they'll come find you about that. It's
got to feel great, right?
It feels great, yeah. Of course, I spent 14 years of my career building this. I've been lucky enough, that I got hired to cover PlayStation at IGN, and I've been able to carry that over here. And when people are like, "Well, it'd be great if you guys had an Xbox show," I can be like, "Well, yeah, I understand that, but Xbox was never my beat." And we are lucky enough to go off and start the Kind of Funny Xcast with 3 people who live Xbox the way I live PlayStation, and to have that breadth of content, to have that deep of a bench right now of people, that's what you talk about of like, oh my God, I never saw this happening. Because in 2015, it was 4 of us in a spare bedroom, and we were worried about if we're going to be able to pay rent, let alone if we're going to have now we're 11 full-time employees with contractors around the world. We're in the middle of building our second studio that's state of the art and has all these amazing bells and whistles. We can't wait to show off. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Is there one, thinking back, one singular moment where you sent an email or you talked to somebody and you thought to yourself, all right, this is going to work?
I never had a question that it wouldn't work. I always tell them, the story goes that, we had told IGN months before we left that we were leaving, and we wanted to help transition out since we were all, faces of the company. We all had large roles in the company. And one of the things I remember is, we agreed, I wanted all my PTO days to be paid off. So when people were starting to leave for Christmas break or whatever, I was like, I'll work the entire way. Don't worry about it. And people were coming up and saying goodbye to me, and nearly everybody was like, are you worried? And I kept saying, the only thing I'm worried about is that I'm not worried. And it's that everybody else was so concerned. And I was like, no, we got this. This is going to work. But then it was the fact that everybody else was like, but really, do you? It was such a weird thing because it sounds, crazy that 6 years ago it was a different world. But it was, we were the first big Patreon success story. We were some of the first people who were big names in our space to leave and do this. And now, we're a dime a dozen. You can look at so many different groups like Easy Allies or No Clip, right, or MinMax, and find people who are doing what we did, let alone all the, the community podcasters and YouTubers who have gone off and had so much success on Patreon. But we were able to see ahead of time that, there's something here and we could do something with this. So, I remember leaving that first day. I remember being at the kitchen table on January 5th and us all publishing the tweet at the same time that we left. And then I remember going in and doing the Twitch stream and seeing the numbers and seeing the YouTube subscribers grow and seeing the Patreons grow and be like, okay, cool. Like what we thought might happen is happening. And now we just got to make sure, we keep delivering.
Yeah, and so far, I don't really see anything stopping you.
Knock on all the wood. Knock on all the wood. Yeah, so far.
All right. I'll find some wood. I don't really have any near me, but I'll knock before we end here. Let's talk a little bit about your immediate future. So you were named as one of the hosts as E3 2021 coming up in just a couple of weeks there. You'll be hosting certain panels. You don't have to get into specifics or anything like that. But
I'm happy to.
What will you be doing so far that you know about at this event?
Sure, E3's got a big rollout, obviously, for what they're doing. But the general idea is that, E3 and the ESA this year wised up to how they were screwing up E3 in the past, I think. And it was this idea of, all right, they're very much, with a mindset we had in 2015 when we started breaking off. And when I really learned about YouTube in like 2012, 2013, which is there's no competition, there's only collaboration. And so rather than put on a live in-person E3, which obviously would have been difficult this year. Their idea was to make a digital meeting place that is, hey, E3 is happening in this spot, which means that for all intents and purposes, I'm doing what I did at IGN, which is hosting a all-day live stream of, cool, it's me and it's Alex and it's Jackie, and we're talking about what we expect out of the Xbox conference. That's coming up in 15 minutes, everybody. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right, guys, it's time for the Xbox conference. We'll see you afterwards. Kick to the Xbox conference so everybody's watching it in one place, then come out and it's post-shows, and then it is interviews, and it's game demos, and it's, giving one place to come for all that information, but also including the other outlets, where it is that idea that, IGN personalities, GameSpot personalities, Kind of Funny personalities are going to show up and be on these shows with us. And when I introduce them and say, all right, it's Lucy James from GameSpot, thanks so much for your time. Lucy, what are you guys doing? She can be like, oh, well, we're about to have this person on our stream, or we're about to do this kind of thing. You can see that kind of cross collaboration of E3 is bigger than any one destination site. So let's all promote each other. Let's all share each other. And you really celebrate the interesting individual things we're all doing.
That's a great way to do it, and it's a great way to ease back into what E3 was, and then maybe next year try the in-person thing.
Exactly. You figure if we get back to it next year and they bring me back, and knock on wood again, if there's a stage show and stuff that is, all right, cool, this is going on, and it's literally somebody from GameSpot IGN running over from their stage to be on our stage to run back to, and we're going to have Kojima up in 10 minutes. All right, I'll see you guys later. Like, that's a big deal.
That's not a scoop, by the way. Kojima will not be at E3 2022.
He might be. You never know. Where's Death Stranding 2?
you don't know that
BB.
now. So what does that in E3 22 in-person convention, the first one after this insane once-in-a-lifetime pandemic, what does that look like to you? Does it look similar to what it was before, or will it have to be completely different?
I think it looks similar. I think it'll be way more drunk, but I think it'll look similar. Where I do think you're going to see, the big booths, the pomp and circumstance, the spectacle of it all. I think people miss that, and it defined the industry for so long. Obviously, social distancing, obviously Perel, obviously masks. I think that'll be the big thing, right? Is that suddenly there will be every booth giving away a mask for whatever game or company they're trying to advertise.
That's true.
But I do think you see that come back because I think people miss that to so much. And I think you see them bring it back and really tackle what they put their foot in before, right? Where they really were dabbling their toes in what a fan/media event looks like. And what do you do with that? How do you make that work? And I think before it was really tacked on and a little half-hearted, whereas I think now coming back, we all understand what that was like. I think even if you were jaded and you missed, or you were jaded and you didn't want to go to in-person E3s or PAXs anymore, you probably missed that to an extent. Like I know, I've always been the, let's go have a Kind of Funny meet and greet. Let's go host a panel. Let's actually get out there and meet the fans that, make all this happen. And it's been a rough year not being able to do that.
Sure. Now, it's weird to say that something so horrific as a pandemic would have a silver lining in it, but if there is one in our little industry, I would say it is people having reset their feelings on in-person conventions like this, because you miss it. You miss the pomp and circumstance. You miss the giant booths and the cacophony of sound. You miss all of that. Now, do I think that some people will still be uneasy? Yes, I agree 100%. Do I still think they can fill the LA Convention Center both sides with people who want to see the new video games? Yes. I think that too.
100%.
100%. Honestly, I'm surprised they're not booking for it already. So let's shift a little bit to. I want to talk about a video you had put out right when I had sent the email to you about a month ago about games as a service. You had put out a fantastic little commentary on Avengers and how it wasn't really living up to where you thought it should be, even though you loved the game so much. We have now seen some content since then. We've seen a roadmap. We've seen some things come out. I believe there was recently a slight delay on that stuff as well. Is it still not where you want it to be? Is it getting there, or are you now satisfied with what they've put out?
I'm not satisfied.
Okay.
I do think getting there is always a bit loose, right? It's hard. Here's the thing I'll do is that they have. I don't. Do you remember what you're talking about for a delay? I don't remember seeing a delay. I actually saw things I thought get pushed up where the Cosmic Cube finally got dated.
Maybe that's what it was. The Cosmic Cube.
Yeah. So they actually hit. So far they've hit with the Tachyon Anomaly event, Red Room takeovers right now, and then Cosmic Cube's now dated for June, which makes me think we're getting closer and closer to War for Wakanda than maybe sooner rather than later, since it's under the summer and beyond thing. It's one of those where for me what's happening right now is that they're actually getting the content out, which is great. They put out this roadmap, they put out these events, and they're actually happening, and they are getting me to turn on the game. The Red Room takeover, is this single player thing where you're jumping into these red rooms that have been changed out, and like you're now earning champion points that XP that builds on what you already had. Yada yada yada. For me, it's the one thing they're missing is hey, here's the gear set, here's the costume, here's the thing that you're working for. Both Tachyon Anomaly and Red Room Takeover, like the big bonus to them are nameplates, which doesn't do it for me. Nope. But them adding in this, they've been going through the end game skins, and if everything's going right, this week should be Captain America, which I will immediately jump on and purchase, and I will keep playing, because now there's the champion points, which are, giving me something to grind for. It's similar like badass points in Borderlands, right? Okay. After you've hit max level, it's giving you those very minor increment upgrades on, critical damage or something like that. And so there is something more for me to go grind down, which I'm a big fan of. And it's more the fact that I think they're just missing. They've got the content there for it, but I think the reward needs to be a bit better.
Do you think there needs to be some sort of like battle pass sort of thing with skins or other things like that, kind of like how Fortnite does theirs?
Yeah, I think they have a great idea with how they have their battle pass already included. And God, it's been so long now, I forget exactly what they call it. But every character comes with a challenge card, I think it is.
Sure.
That is, you pay $10 if it's a downloadable character. It was free when you bought the game for everybody who's in it. And you work your way through that. But yeah, the problem is that, guess what? My Cap, my Black Widow, and my Iron Man are all maxed out. Like, I did all of that stuff. So then to come back and now just grind for the challenge points, all right, but you haven't shown me what I need to do. Like, I still don't have the AIM cloning lab that was going to be this big thing. I don't have that end game content that I'm supposed to be grinding for. And why grind for an exotic when in fact there's nothing that's challenging me to use the exotic? Like, right now it's a lot of stuff you're playing for and hoping that War for Wakanda will challenge you and give you those missions that I think you need to get into. But the problem is that I need the current rewards to be more exciting so I can encourage my friends to come play. Because I'll play Avengers anytime, but to just grind the same red room over and over again to get a different nameplate is kind of lame.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah.
When you say this, it's not even like it's procedurally generated. I mean, if it had a little bit of randomness to it, it'd be like, hey, it'd be different every time. No, that makes perfect sense. Do you see that the issues happening with Avengers? I feel like all games as a service is the word that's being used for them in that sense. Kind of run into this as well, and then they either find their footing or they peter out. A good example of finding their footing, Destiny 2. That game is still strong right now. Crazy players still to this day. A new one for me, I think, is Outriders. I think Outriders has potential to get there, but I think it just needs a little more content and a little more, kind of like what Avengers has, maybe something to grind towards, just a little more meaningful. Did you play Outriders at all?
Oh yeah, I loved Outriders. And Outriders, of course, was the weird one where they swore up and down it's not a games of service. They were telling everybody ahead of time that we're launching, this is a full-baked game, and this is what it's going to be. And then when it came out and hit, they were like, okay, cool, well, this doesn't mean we won't do more future content. We won't do stuff for it later on. And then they continue to go in and tweak different things of, epic drop or exotic drop rates or legendary drop rates and, all this stuff that Paul Tassi over at Forbes goes nuts for. And so, like, Outriders is interesting because Outriders had its week where it was the biggest thing. Everybody was playing Outriders, but it was that thing where we were all playing it in the way I think, we all chew juicy fruit gum. where it's great in that moment, but it was very much like, this is great because there's nothing else to play. Like, I want something new. I want to do something cool. This is on Game Pass as well. And so we were all playing it together, and all of my friends were skipping all the cutscenes because the story wasn't that compelling or anything like that. It was just fun to shoot stuff and use these powers.
That's right.
And so now you're in this place where it's like, cool, I did all that. And like, I was like, oh man, I want to platinum this. And when I got to, reviews started coming out, so I had to stop and go do stuff for work. And when I came back, nobody's playing it anymore. And I'm not, too gung-ho on trying to drag everybody back to it for me to grind out the like end powers and stuff like that. So it's this weird thing where Outriders was a blast, and I forget like how many hours I put into it, but I mean, I saw the campaign through, and I was doing the end game missions that I forget what they call them, and so I was all about it. But it was lightning. It was over in a flash. It was just gone.
Yeah, and it really didn't have the lasting power that you would expect from a big multiplayer game like that. Maybe it should have been a games as a service, eh? People would still be playing.
I mean, that's the thing. I think, and that's what I've talked about on the shows recently for Kind of Funny, where I'm like, oh yeah, and it was on that week, and so many people have been like, yeah, but you talk about like it's a failure, like that was kind of its mission, right? And I was like, that's a good point. You know what I mean? They didn't promise that you'd be playing it forever. They didn't pull the Avengers thing, right? Where, oh yeah, there's going to be new heroes, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. It was very much like, this is the experience, and you're going to play it and do it. And I think they did just that, and I think it was a huge hit for them, and you're definitely getting an Outriders 2, and I don't know what you'll get in terms of DLC, but like it worked. It's a franchise now for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And People Can Fly just finally broke through, I feel like. Bulletstorm didn't get enough of a rap, if you ask me.
Oh, 100%.
And so then for them to have success with Outriders is really cool. In that vein, let's talk about the games of the year so far. We're approaching July 1st, which is the midpoint. Not quite there yet. Still have June to go. But a lot of stuff has come out. So what right now would you say is one of the best games you've played so far this year? It doesn't have to be your game of the year so far. If you want to give me 2 or 3, that's fine.
Can you believe how ridiculous it is to say we're almost to the halfway point of this? We're almost to July. And you're not wrong. And it's like, oh my God. Like today somebody said, oh yeah, May. And I was like, and I went to say March. And I was like, oh my God, no, it's May.
May.
My God.
It's May. Right after last year felt like a slow elevator ride in the original Mass Effect. Now it feels like we're in the elevator rides in Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Exactly. For Game of the Year right now, for me, top of my list would be probably Returnal. Yes. And then right behind it, probably It Takes Two. Like I think those were just like pound for pound such great games. Returnal is a game that I continue to play right now. I mean, have you beaten Returnal?
I haven't even started Returnal yet.
Oh, okay.
I do like those kind of games, and I loved Resogun, so I trust Housemarque, but
sure.
Just other things that have come up.
That's my problem, is that Returnal is tough, right? And the whole thing about Returnal is, you do the runs over and over again, you get that shorthand, you know what you're doing. And my problem with Returnal is that I was moving the week we got review code, I played it for the PS I Love You episode, then I moved over to another review, then to another review. I came back and played it for a few days, then do another review, then I got into it, and then so it's like I keep like I haven't finished Returnal. I just keep coming in and getting my head kicked in by it, and then just about the time it really clicks and I'm having great runs is when I have to switch off to something else. But none of that stops me from being able to see the beauty of it and how well designed it is and how much fun it is, and like this crazy thing of, usually for me with video games, I want to see progression. I want to see, my characters build, get better. I want to see, actual changes to the outfits as I get new armor. I want to see the story move on. And Returnal's progression is so internal, where it is like, an enemy that was vexing me in the beginning, I can now take out so easily. But then I meet a new boss. I go to a different biome and I get a different enemy that now I have to go through the whole thing again. And then you get that moment of success when you beat the big boss and move on to the new area. Like, it's so well done.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's definitely one that I want to try out just because, again, I trust Housemarque and everyone seems to be raving about it. But It Takes Two. I missed that one too, only because I don't really have a player to play it with. My wife, not a big gamer, but I feel like that might be one that might be able to pull her in. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I think 100%. Yeah, because it's one of those interesting things from Hazelight Studios, right? It Takes Two. They describe it as a romantic comedy, and that I think is true and great. And I also think it sells short how ingenious their game design is and how every world you go to has a different gimmick for what's going on that is more creative than the last, and also easy enough for, I think, a non-gamer to jump in, because the game's built obviously to be played co-op, couch co-op, and so it's built for you to sit down with somebody who doesn't necessarily play as many games as you do and can get their head wrapped around like, okay, cool, you're going to throw the nails and I'm going to use this hammer to swing between them.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I'll have to add that to the list as well. I have to get a controller too. Maybe my little 5-year-old also. But conversely, we've talked about what's already happened. What are you most looking forward to towards the end of the year? Obviously, a lot of big releases have not been announced yet. That's coming in the next couple of weeks. So this answer could change by this time next month. But right now, where we sit, is there one or two games that you're like, yep, that's on my radar?
I mean, for me, on the radar, immediately it's Ratchet and Clank, right? We're just 2 weeks out from that. I can't wait to see if that lives up to the hype. But, beyond that, you get into, okay, cool, is Halo Infinite going to hit? Is Halo Infinite going to be the thing Xbox needs it to be? For me personally, Back 4 Blood is at the top of my most anticipated. Come on. That's kidding me? They're bringing back basically Left 4 Dead. It looks awesome. I played that alpha. I had such a great time with it. And then the whole you're building a deck of cards. That way every playthrough is a little bit different. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's have fun with this.
It definitely sounds like the Left 4 Dead 3 that we have always wanted, but will not be getting anytime soon, unfortunately. I'm a big World Ends With You fan. I thought that game was awesome. So to see The World Ends With You coming in July, that's another one that I am very, very into. And then probably same as you, Back 4 Blood. I'm really sad to see that delayed, but I'm going the Miyamoto route. A bad game is bad forever. A good game, a delayed game is eventually good. So,
and the best part is it's delayed into October, right? So this game about going through and fighting zombies that aren't zombies, but it's gonna be perfect for the time period.
Oh yeah, right where it belongs. That's exactly right. So, Mr. Miller, that is all. That's all the time I'm going to take from you today. You are a very busy man. I don't want to take any more of your time. Thank you so much for joining me here on Cheesesteaks and Controllers. You are always welcome. If you're ever in Philly, just say the word and we will get you back on the show once again. That's Greg Miller, everybody. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, folks. Appreciate you being here for episode number 50. Still really weird to say that out loud, but here we are at episode 50. That was Greg Miller on the other side of that break. I hope you really enjoyed that interview. That guy, I could talk to him. I could listen to him talk about video games for hours. He's just so knowledgeable, and he's so in on everything. Obviously, he is partial to PlayStation. As he said, it was his beat at IGN, but the man is starting to he comes around to everything. He's all about video games. He's all about championing this industry, and I really have enjoyed watching Kinda Funny grow with him at the helm. Everybody there is excellent. So I recommend that you go there when you're done listening to this podcast, if you don't already listen to his stuff. Now we're going to get into, it's May 26th, 2021. It's Wednesday night as I record this, and we are already knee-deep in the summer release schedule. Now, like I said, in the 6 and 60 seconds, there are three, I believe, 4 if you conclude Monster Hunter Rises that happened on Wednesday, 5 if you include the Far Cry 6 gameplay reveal happening on Friday, later today if you're listening to the podcast, or yesterday if you're on the radio. But 3 separate live streams have been announced just for Thursday the 27th. So by the time you're listening to this, we will already know all the news. I'm not going to really dive into what I think is going to happen because, like I said, by the time you're listening to this, it will have already happened. Sonic's 30th anniversary is the most intriguing. I do think we're going to be talking about a new Sonic game next week when I come on for episode 51 and whatever happens there. Dying Light 2, I just hope has a release date of this year. I really want that game to be good. I've seen it a couple of times at a couple of E3s pre-pandemic, and I really want that game to be fresh. And then Horizon Forbidden West, I think it's coming out this year. I think that the fact this is the one that they're highlighting in this state of play and not God of War Ragnarok means that Horizon won the toss and has elected to come out this year. I really do think that's what that's going to tell us Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So yesterday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you're listening to this podcast, when it posts on Friday, you already know everything that's going to happen. But we still don't know what's coming at E3 2021. We now have the Xbox and Bethesda co-headline game showcase confirmed for 6/13, which I mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago in my E3 predictions. I did think that was going to be a co-headline show. I thought it would be silly to leave Bethesda out or to include Bethesda but not include them on the marquee, because some people out there may still not know that Xbox and Bethesda are the same now. So having them both on the marquee and both on the label will bring fans of both in, and then we can see what's going on there just by the logo that was advertising the event We know that we're going to get Halo Infinite news of some kind, and it is very probable that we're going to get news on Starfield. And the reason for that is half of the sphere in this logo is a bunch of Spartans, Halo Infinite Spartans, and not just Master Chief. It's a bunch of them, which implies a multiplayer announcement of some kind. And then the bottom half is a planet that looks like it could be the other half of the planet that they're on, but also bears a striking resemblance to the Starfield logo we have already seen. So I think that two of my predictions, at least, for the Xbox Bethesda event are going to come true. Now, whether or not the rest of them are going to come true is another thing indeed. I did not mention this, I don't think, in the last episode where I talked about this, but I really would enjoy a Banjo-Kazooie return in some format, whether that's Banjo 3E or whether that's just a brand new Banjo-Kazooie game with a different name. As long as it's not Nuts and Bolts 2 and they don't look like they did in that game, I will be perfectly happy with that. And also, last week it was announced, it was part of our 6 and 60 last week, that the Summer Game Fest is having a nice kickoff show by Jeff Keighley. A little bit more information has come out about that in the week since. 30 games will be highlighted over 2 hours in this show. I imagine that he will start teasing some of those announcements, as he likes to do for the Game Awards and for Gamescom Live and other events that he holds between now and the 13th. I imagine he'll start Tuesday after the Memorial Day holiday. I also think that it's going to be a hard show to call. I think there's going to be big-time announcements. I may try a prediction show the week before it happens or the day it happens or whatever it would be to try and predict that whole 30-game lineup. That's going to be impossible because there's going to be games, obviously, that I've never heard of before that have not even been announced yet. But I do think also it's going to be impossible because he has mentioned in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, which I highly recommend that you listen to. It's a very, very good piece by Trilby Beresford over there at the THR, where he talks about wanting to have games in multiple genres. So he doesn't want to have like 8 racing games, or I think was the quote that he used, or too many shooter games, things of that. But he also says that he wants to make sure that he gets the entire spectrum between the major, crazy AAA that everyone's heard of and everyone wants to play, and the small one-man studio making the tiny indie game that he found on Steam Early Access. So there is a wide swath of possibilities for that Summer Game Fest show, which makes it one of the most interesting shows going into the summer announcement season that there is. I mean, obviously, when you think about the Xbox Bethesda show, you think about a potential Nintendo Direct somewhere in that time frame. There is games that you can predict. It's a little bit easier to predict those companies because it's first party. You can only predict games that they own the IPs to. Now, in both cases, they also lend some of their time to third parties, so you can get a little fancy with your predictions there when trying to predict these things. But mostly you're going to focus on the individual first-party franchises that they have. So if I'm talking Xbox, I'm not going to focus too much on 2K and Capcom and all those. I'm going to stick to the Halo. I'm going to stick to the Fable. I'm going to stick to, I guess now Bethesda, we would have to include in that as well. So they're a little more cut and dry, the Xbox and Nintendo shows. This Summer Game Fest, he has no allegiances. He has no affiliations. He has no companies that he is beholden to. It is literally his choice. And we're going to have 30 games presented to us in 2 hours that he curated, or he helped curate, Mr. Keighley, along with his team. And that's fascinating. It's got to be a hell of an undertaking. It's got to be fun at the same time. And I can't wait to see what they have going on there for us in that show. But the whole point of this segment, what I want to get into a little bit now, is if you're a fan of video games, which I imagine that you are just by listening to this show, the E3 shows, the summer released schedule is here. It's just today alone, with all of the different, today being Wednesday, with all the different news stories that broke one after the other. The biggest one of the day, admittedly, was not a video game announcement. That was Amazon buying MGM. But as far as games were concerned, you had the Pokemon dates that I spoke about in the 6 and 60 seconds. You had Xbox and Bethesda announcing their show. You had the Far Cry 6 announcement for Friday on the 28th, the gameplay reveal for the first time there. That is one I am interested in. I thought they would wait until their Ubisoft Forward show, which is slated for June the 12th, I believe at noon Eastern. Could be 3 p.m. Could be noon Pacific time. I thought they would wait for Far Cry 6 gameplay reveal there, but it seems like we're going to be getting it this Friday, the 28th. And I wonder if it'll be what they like to do, what they did last year, say, with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where they put a small gameplay trailer, it was called, but it was mostly just like a normal Ubisoft trailer, and then a full gameplay reveal at Ubisoft Forward. In fact, that's what I'm banking on now that I think about it. We'll probably get a 2.5 to 3 minute trailer with gameplay in it, but it'll still have Giancarlo Esposito being his scary, imposing self as the main villain. We'll have the hero whose voice we hear in the teaser trailer that went out today. And then we'll have, a little bit of gameplay here and there, a little bit more of the story fleshing out, and then see the full reveal June 12th at Ubisoft Forward or whatever it is that they're going to do. My warning to you, and that was just this week. That was this week, the week before Memorial Day. We now have an entire 4 days from June 1st to the 4th of possible announcements. And then the week after that is a media week for everything being announced at E3. So Monday through Friday of that next week, which I believe the first date is the 6th, I want to say, the 7th, excuse me. Monday the 7th starts the media portion of E3, where media and content creators and YouTubers and things like that are invited to play the games or sit in on the presentations and get the information under embargo. And then everything starts off properly on the weekend. So the public stuff isn't happening till the weekend. The media stuff happens early in the week. So from the 7th to the 15th, I would say, maybe even a little bit later, because the Tribeca Games demos are happening later on into June. From the 7th until the 15th, you are going to be inundated with gaming news and previews and gameplay and all kinds of things in a way that you have not been for that sustained amount of time in a couple of years. Now, last year it was drawn out over 4 months, and there's nothing saying that some companies won't draw it out again this year. But I have a feeling that this year they're going to do what they kind of did in years prior, where they load June up with all of the insane news that you can possibly imagine. Then they take a little bit of time off. They come back in, mid to late July, early August perhaps, with something else. And then they take a little bit more time off, and then we're into the holiday release schedule. Now, the only outlier there is EA. EA Play has been announced for July. I don't know what the exact date there is, but we will definitely see some things from EA in July. However, they weren't affiliated with E3 anyway, so they've done their own thing for a long, long time. Stands to reason they would do that again. And then PlayStation. Also, PlayStation is another outlier. We don't know when their thing is going to be. I imagine that there will be some sort of showcase between now and, let's say, August, where they show off all the things coming off in the latter half of the year. Big one, obviously, with the Horizon Zero Dawn State of Play, which is scheduled for Thursday the 27th, so it would have been yesterday when you're listening to this podcast when it goes up. So we might know a bunch about that already. 14 minutes of new gameplay was promised for that presentation. We have to see what's going on there. Maybe it'll get the release date November that I'm hoping for, or something in 2021 that I'm hoping for. But then there's, after that, they may want to take some time like Xbox is doing with a big showcase, or like they did last year with the PlayStation, the first and both of the PlayStation 5 showcases. One was, I want to say, June, and the other one was September, where they showed off a bunch of games and gave us our launch titles, and we could pre-order the console at the time. May have to do that again this year for some folks. But there's it's going to be a crazy time. That's what I'm getting to. And you need, if you're following this industry and you're a big gamer and you want to know everything that there is to know, you need to make sure that you give yourself time. You're going to be watching a lot of live streams. You're going to be dedicating a lot of your day to gaming news. And if you're ready for that, awesome. I'm looking forward to it with you. I will definitely be covering it in the different outlets that I write for, whether it's GameSpot News or MMORPG previews or anything like that, whatever else may come up. But make sure that you are watching responsibly. And what I mean by that is you are, taking care of yourself. If there's a big marathon going on, you make time to eat and all that. Because it feels to me now like I'm going to feel like I'm on the E3 show floor, but I'm in my own house. And the E3 show floor, for those who are listening who have not done it before, is a grind. And I'm up and walking from booth to booth. I can only imagine what that grind would feel like sitting in a computer chair watching a screen all day. If you've been working from home through this pandemic, you know. If you've been going to school through this pandemic, depending on how young you are, this is a family-friendly show with no profanity, then you know. So enjoy it, but also be ready for it, because there's a lot of news coming. It's coming all at once, and there's really nothing we can do to stop it. So just put your hands out and let the tidal wave of gaming news hit you right in the chest. And finally tonight, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode 50. It's still so weird. I've already said it twice this episode, and I just can't wrap my head around it. Episode 50 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers Podcast, presented by Fox PHL, the Gambler, rolls on. And I guess now, even though I said I wouldn't, I guess now is the time that we have to talk about the Overwatch League. This is an esports and video games podcast. I should focus on esports a little bit, but it begrudges me to do so. It really does. The Philadelphia Fusion of the Overwatch League really let me down this past weekend, and I know that I am not alone in saying that. After the May Melee, and they go 4-0 in their qualifiers, only to lose in a close match to the Shanghai Dragons, fair to them, I expected them to come back for this June Joust, guns blazing, literally and figuratively, and just roll over New York and Chengdu. Chengdu, who they beat in the May Melee, and New York, who didn't show anything in the May Melee. And instead, they went down 3-1 to both of them. 0-2 after the first week, with a week off to think about it, because they're not back until June the 4th. So what happened? Obviously, neutralizing Carpe paid dividends. Their control is still a mess. I believe they went 0-3 in the control maps that they played this weekend. They did play a third control. They played a second control map in the match against Chengdu, because one of the other maps was a tie, a draw. So they had to go to a control map where they lost there. They went 0-3 in control, so they have some work to do in control. In fact, I don't think they won a single point. I don't think it was 2-1 or anything like that. I think it was 2-0 in all three of those control maps. So control needs work. Carpe needs protection. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but the hero pools seem to have affected the Fusion very, very much. Now, for those who aren't aware, who may be listening to this, aren't aware of how some esports work or what some rules are, there is a thing in the Overwatch League called hero pools. And what that is before a in-season tournament, last year it was just for like a week or 2 weeks or so, but because of the structure this year, for the next entire in-season tournament called the June Joust, so last week, this week, next week, and the actual bracket the week after, 4 heroes in Overwatch are disabled, banned by every team, and those that are chosen are based on usage percentages from the previous weeks. So in April and May, the May Melee, the first in-season tournament, there were no heroes banned because they didn't have any percentages yet. Now in June, the June Joust, they took that data from the May Melee across the entire league, all the teams, and decided that Tracer and Sombra, for the damage characters, Reinhardt, the tank, and Zenyatta, the support, were all banned from the June Joust. Nobody can use any of them throughout the next 4 weeks. They do this to show different metas and to highlight different characters and whatever their reason is, but it seems like, at least in the Philadelphia Fusion's case, all it did was neuter us. And it did that by taking Zenyatta away from Alarm, which made a lot more of a difference than I thought, and taking Tracer away from Rascal, which I always thought would be a bit of an issue. The two of them were not at their best this week in either match. Carpe was holding his own. At one point, he got like 3 or 4 different kills to the point where I thought he'd be able to bring them all the way back, but he wasn't able to do that. Hotba and Toby played fine. Still a couple of issues with Hotba's placement as a tank every once in a while, but that's neither here nor there. And then I said Toby, I said Alarm, I said Carpe and Rascal. I am forgetting some Mono. Mono is good. I like the way Mono plays. I like the way Carpe and Mono play together. So I don't have a problem with them. But Alarm needs to figure out another support, and he needs to do it soon. I thought he had a couple of supports in his back pocket. I didn't think Zenyatta was his main, but not being able to use Zenyatta all of a sudden has neutered this guy. And the entire team really, really, really suffered for it. So the two priorities for the Fusion going into week 3 next week, having this week off, are getting Alarm up to speed with another support, whoever that may be, and then figuring out why they can't win control all of a sudden, why they keep losing control maps and not being able to pull off anything like that, because they need to be able. Honestly, I feel like in every match I've ever watched with the Philadelphia Fusion, control, if they win the control map, they win the entire match. They have no problem. But if they lose the control map, they're screwed. And they have the most trouble with control, specifically on Lijiang Tower. That is like their kryptonite map. I don't think I've ever seen them win a Lijiang Tower. Also, yes, I was correct in that they didn't win a single round of control against either team. They went 0-4 against Chengdu, and they went 0-2 against the Excelsior. So they really need to work on their control, and they need to do it soon. Or else this is just going to keep happening for the rest of the season. We're going to have very unhappy fans going into the rest of these in-season tournaments. But now let's look ahead to this week. I do like to pick all of the matches in the Overwatch League week by week. Last week, I went 7-7, right down the middle, partly because of the Fusion going 0-2, and a couple other teams overperforming that I did not expect them to do that. So hopefully I can right the ship a little bit and get back over 500 with the picks this week. Let's start Friday, 3 p.m., so a couple hours from now if you're listening to this live, if you're listening to this when it went up, if you're listening to this on the radio, it happened yesterday, so check and make sure I'm not an idiot. We have the London Spitfire at the Dallas Fuel. I still do not trust London as far as I can throw them, and Dallas Fuel is coming off winning the May Melee tournament, the last in-season tournament. Give me Dallas in a romp. Next, LA Gladiators and Vancouver Titans. I also do not trust Vancouver, so I'm going to go LA Gladiators here May 28th at 4:30. Saturday, May 29th at 5 a.m. over in the Eastern region, you have Shanghai playing LA. LA Valiant are in the Eastern region, for those who are unaware, because all of their teams are in Korea. Same with New York Excelsior, same with Philadelphia Fusion. That's why they're playing so early in the day. Shanghai is going to beat LA because LA is the weakest team in the East, in my opinion, and will be, I think, for the entire year. New York Excelsior and Seoul Dynasty. Now, while New York did beat us, they did come back down to earth in their second match, losing that. So I think Seoul is going to handle them as well. So the first matches, Friday, I have Dallas and LA Gladiators. Saturday, I have Shanghai and Seoul. Moving on to Saturday afternoon, Houston at London. Again, London, don't trust them. Houston wins. San Francisco at Toronto. Toronto had a pretty decent showing last week. I believe going 1-1, but looking strong in that first match. But San Francisco is the reigning defending 2-time league champions. And while they had a bit of a disappointing showing leading into the May Melee, I think they come back with a vengeance and beat Toronto here. But that's going to be a close one. That's a coin flip, if you ask me. I think Toronto is better than people give them credit for. And I think San Francisco is showing some weakness. So give me San Francisco, but in a squeaker there. Saturday night at 6 p.m., we have Atlanta and the LA Gladiators. This is a weird one to call, too, because they're both like right in the middle. They're both very like middle of the road, maybe bottom 50% sort of teams. So I am going to literally flip a coin here, and we are going to go with the Atlanta Reign to beat LA Gladiators. Could be 3-2, could be 3-0. That's a tough one to call. So let's go Atlanta Reign right here. Sunday, we're going into Sunday now. Sunday, May 30th, 5 a.m. Again, New York and LA playing in the Eastern region. I think, like I said, New York has come back down to earth, but I think LA is just that bad, so New York beats LA here. Seoul versus Shanghai next. That's a weird one to call as well. Both of these teams are in the upper echelon of the Eastern region. I'm going to go with Seoul to get some revenge for losing in the grand finals last year, but that could go either way. I'm not really sure which way that's going to go, but I'm going to pick Seoul tentatively right here where I sit. And then finally, Sunday afternoon, the last three matches of the weekend, Toronto at Houston. Houston Outlaws are just better than Toronto, so I'm going to go with Houston there. The Vancouver Titans and the Atlanta Reign. I'm going to pick Atlanta again because Vancouver, I just don't trust them. And then the marquee matchup, Sunday, May 30th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We're looking at the Dallas Fuel, the winners of the May Melee, and those San Francisco Shock, the perennial powerhouses, two-time defending league champions. Whoo, boy. I'm going to have to take Dallas in the hot streak, especially if they win earlier in the weekend. They are the team right now. They're firing in all cylinders, no pun intended, fuel, whatever. And the Shock have looked human. But if the Shock wanted to show that they still are the dominant force in the Overwatch League, beating Dallas handily would do that. Is that enough motivation to get over the hump? I don't know. Frankly, I'm picking no. I think this is going to be 3-1 Dallas, and Dallas is going to go 4-0, because I think they won twice last week, in the June Joust qualifiers, putting them right back in position to be just as good as they were last time. Oh, forgive me, I'm very sorry. They didn't play last week. The blue team I was thinking of was the Boston Uprising, who went from worst to first and went 3-0 in both of their matches last week somehow. That's a team I just don't understand at all. But I think Dallas goes 2-0 this weekend to keep the momentum going after the May Melee win when all is said and done. So, recapping my picks for this week. Friday, we have Dallas and the LA Gladiators. Saturday, we have Shanghai and Seoul. Saturday afternoon, we have Houston, San Francisco, and Atlanta. Sunday morning, we have New York and Seoul. And then Sunday, we have Houston, Atlanta, and the Dallas Fuel. Let's hope I get more than half of them right, and I can pretend that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Overwatch League. And with that, we are at the end of episode 50 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers Podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. My name is Jason Fanelli. I am the Esports and Gaming Insider for the radio station Fox PHL The Gambler. 50 episodes in the books. Really is hard to believe. It feels like yesterday that I was given this opportunity. It feels like yesterday that I first came on the radio with Sean Brace, the program director, back in February in 2020. And yet here I am, 50 episodes later, as strong as ever, baby, ready to give you more esports and gaming news as it comes up. Look for me at GameSpot writing news throughout the week. Look for me at MMORPG.com giving some previews and reviews of upcoming games. I'm on esports.gg talking esports. I've been on the Loadout recently. Super Parent, which is a really cool website tailored towards parents of gamers. Did a couple of news articles there, moonlighting for the EIC, who was out on vacation. So I am around, and I am always around on Twitter at BigManFanelli, BigManFanelli, and then twitch.tv/JFan64. I play Fortnite a couple times a week on my Twitch channel, and I'm also going to be live streaming reactions to the conferences as they happen during the E3 times. So look for me to do that, and feel free to join me, and we can react together to all of the crazy gaming news as it happens. That is it for Cheesesteaks and Controllers episode 50. Until next week, stay safe, stay happy, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I will see you on the other side. Goodbye.